A manager fires a black waitress in front of a packed dining room, calls her a charity case, humiliates her publicly over a wine bottle that never even fell. The woman walks away silently until her billionaire husband steps through the door. The room freezes. Phones lift. Whispers spread. The manager's face goes white. She just fired Elias Mercer's wife. And this restaurant? It's hosting his $20,000 a plate charity dinner next week. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Danielle never needed that job. She chose it, to escape, to feel normal, to be invisible in a world that only saw her husband's name. And now, the manager's entire career collapses in real time. This isn't about revenge. It's about what happens when cruelty meets consequence. Subscribe now, because when quiet justice unfolds, nobody walks away the same. Drop a comment. Would you have stayed silent or spoken up? Most people walked past Hawthorne Ridge Grill without a second glance. Small town Virginia. Brick facade weathered by decades of mountain rain. Faded green awning that hadn't been replaced since the 90s. Nothing special. But inside, someone was hiding in plain sight. The air smelled like roasted garlic and burnt coffee, sharp and familiar. Low amber lighting cast soft shadows across cracked leather booths. Murmured conversations blended with the clink of silverware on ceramic plates. A couple near the window. A trucker at the counter. Regulars who knew the menu by heart. Booth cushions split at the seams. Framed photos of the Blue Ridge Mountains hung crooked on wood-paneled walls, dusty, forgotten, never straightened. It was the kind of place where nobody asked questions. Where tips were modest and shifts were long. Where people came to disappear. Table 7, a woman refilling water glasses. Dark curls pulled into a low bun, simple black apron tied tight, no jewelry, no makeup that caught the light, hands steady, expression calm. Danielle Mercer moved like she'd done this for years. Smooth, efficient, invisible. But she hadn't. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not in this job, not in this nowhere town tucked between Route 29 and the Shenandoah Valley, not wearing a name tag that only said, Danny. No last name, no backstory, no explanations. She told the owner, a soft-spoken man named Gerald, that she needed something quiet, something normal, a few weeks away from the noise. He didn't ask why. She didn't offer. Cash under the table, flexible hours, no paperwork. Perfect. The kitchen staff barely spoke to her. The other servers, 2 college kids saving for spring break and a retired nurse named Phyllis, kept their distance. Not out of cruelty, just caution. New people didn't usually last long at Hawthorne Ridge. The manager made sure of that. Danielle cleared plates from booth 9. A family of 4. The father tipped well, folded bills tucked under his coffee mug. The mother smiled warmly. Thank you, sweetheart. You're so kind. Danielle nodded, smiled back, moved toward the kitchen. Then she felt it. Across the dining room, near the host stand, someone was watching. Mallory Green, the manager. Arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes sharp as broken glass, mouth pressed into a thin, calculating line. She'd been watching Danielle for 3 weeks now. Studying, measuring, waiting. Danielle felt the stare burning into her back like a brand. She didn't turn around. She'd learned that much already. Don't react. Don't give her ammunition. Don't make yourself a target. But Mallory didn't need reasons. She just needed an audience. And tonight, the dining room was packed. If you've ever worked under someone who wanted you gone, drop a comment. You'll understand what happens next. 3 months ago, Danielle's mornings looked different. Marble countertops, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Potomac, a housekeeper who knew her coffee order by heart, a driver waiting downstairs. Security, staff, schedules coordinated by assistants she'd never met. And silence, the kind that feels expensive, controlled, suffocating. She was Mrs. Elias Mercer, wife of the youngest tech billionaire to ever broker a federal infrastructure deal, the man who sat across from senators, whose signature appeared on donation checks that funded wings of hospitals. Elias Mercer didn't just have money. He had influence, access, power. And everywhere he went, cameras followed. Which meant everywhere she went, eyes followed too. The charity galas, the ribbon-cutting ceremonies, the carefully staged photos where she smiled on cue and said nothing controversial. She loved him, deeply, but she was drowning in his spotlight. So one morning, she made a decision. She kissed him goodbye, told him she needed a few weeks to breathe, to think, to remember who she was before the world knew her name. He didn't fight her. He understood. Or at least, he tried to. "Go," he said quietly. "Just stay safe." She drove south on I-81 inches a car with no tracking software, no phone synced to cloud accounts, no credit cards tied to his name. Cash, a duffel bag, a fake smile at a roadside motel, and then Hawthorne Ridge Grill, a help-wanted sign taped to the window, handwritten, faded. She walked in, asked for the job, got hired the same afternoon. No background check, no references, just a gut feeling from Gerald, the owner, who saw something honest in her eyes. If she'd known what that decision would cost her, would she still have done it? Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when her two worlds collide. Now, 3 weeks in, she'd almost convinced herself it was working. The rhythm of the job grounded her, refilling drinks, wiping tables, counting tips in crumpled singles. No one here cared about infrastructure bills or political endorsements. No one whispered her name in elevators. No one knew. Except, Elias didn't know she was working. He thought she was staying at some quiet bed and breakfast, journaling, healing, not serving grilled chicken to truckers at 11 p.m. on a Friday. She told herself it was temporary, a reset, a way to feel normal again. But Mallory Green was watching. And Mallory had a gift for finding secrets, especially the kind that could be weaponized. Danielle stacked plates in the dish pit. Her hands moved fast. Her mind moved faster. She should have quit after the first week, after the first snide comment, but something stubborn inside her refused. She wanted to see what people were really like when they thought she was nobody. Now she was about to find out. Subscribe to find out. Mallory Green didn't grow up wanting to manage a small-town grill. She wanted corner offices, executive parking, a nameplate that made people nervous. But life had other plans. 2 failed business degrees, a string of corporate internships that went nowhere, a marriage that ended when her husband left her for someone less intense. His words, not hers. Now, at 37, she ran Hawthorne Ridge Grill like it was Goldman Sachs. Control was everything. She arrived 30 minutes early every shift, checked every prep station, counted every napkin fold, monitored every interaction between servers and customers. Not because she cared about quality, because she needed to prove she mattered. Mallory had a type. New hires, quiet ones, the kind who didn't push back, who apologized too quickly, who needed the job more than they needed dignity. Easy targets. She'd broken 3 servers in the past year alone. One cried in the walk-in freezer after Mallory publicly criticized her for smiling too much. Another quit mid-shift when Mallory accused her of stealing tips with 0 evidence. The third just stopped showing up. Gerald, the owner, never interfered. He was 68, tired, ready to sell. As long as the customers kept coming and the health inspections stayed clean, he let Mallory run the floor however she wanted. Big mistake. Mallory thrived in the gaps where authority didn't care. And when Danielle walked in 3 weeks ago, Mallory's instincts lit up like a radar. Something was off. The way Danielle carried herself. Calm, unbothered, almost above it all. Like she didn't need this job. That bothered Mallory. Because people who didn't need something couldn't be controlled. So Mallory started small. A comment here, a correction there, always loud enough for others to hear. "Danny, we don't hold trays like that here." "Danny, customers don't want to see you leaning." "Danny, smile more. Or smile less. Just do better. Danielle never argued, never defended herself. She just nodded, adjusted, moved on. And that made Mallory angrier. Because humiliation only works when the victim reacts. Danielle didn't give her that satisfaction. Not yet. But Mallory was patient. She studied people the way wolves studied lymphs. And tonight, she saw her opening. The dining room was packed. Friday, rush. Every table full. The kitchen behind. Tickets piling up. Chaos bred mistakes. And mistakes gave Mallory exactly what she needed. She stood near the host stand, arms crossed, eyes locked on Danielle as she moved between tables. Waiting. Watching. Hungry. If you've ever had a boss who wanted you to fail, you already know how this ends. Or do you? Comment your guess if it ever happens. Day 1. Danielle was folding napkins in the back when Mallory appeared beside her. No greeting, just inspection. That's sloppy. Danielle glanced down. The napkins were fine, crisp, symmetrical. Mallory picked one up, unfolded it, dropped it on the table. Do it again, all of them. 40 napkins. Perfectly folded. Redone for no reason. Day 4. Lunch rush. Table 12 wanted their check split 4 ways. Simple enough. Danielle brought it over, itemized, accurate. Mallory intercepted her at the register. You didn't ask if they wanted dessert first. They said they were. I don't care what they said. Mallory's voice rose just enough. You suggest dessert, every time. That's revenue. 2 servers nearby glanced over, then looked away. Danielle felt the heat crawl up her neck. Understood. Mallory smirked. Good. Learn fast or leave faster. Day 9. A regular older man, kind smile, always tipped 20%, asked Danielle about her day. She answered politely. Briefly. He laughed at something she said. Harmless. Warm. Mallory was watching from the kitchen window. 10 minutes later, she pulled Danielle aside near the dish pit. Customers aren't your friends. I wasn't. You were chatting, wasting time, while table 6 waited for refills. Danielle's jaw tightened. Table 6 had full glasses. But she didn't argue. She never did. Day 14. Mallory started scheduling Danielle for the worst shifts. Sunday mornings, late Friday nights, back-to-back doubles with no break. The kind of schedule designed to make someone quit. Phyllis, the retired nurse, noticed. She's testing you, Phyllis whispered during a lull. Sees if you'll break. Why? Phyllis shrugged. Because she can. Day 16. A family left a generous tip, $23 on a $30 check. Danielle pocketed it, cleared the table, moved on. Mallory appeared out of nowhere. Let me see that. See what? Your tips. Danielle hesitated, then pulled the bills from her apron. Mallory counted them. Slowly, deliberately. Interesting. Is there a problem? No, just keeping track. Mallory handed them back. Wouldn't want anyone skimming from the register. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Danielle's heartbeat thudded in her ears, but her face stayed calm. I wouldn't. Of course not. Mallory's smile didn't reach her eyes. Just a reminder. She walked away. And Danielle realized something cold and certain. Mallory wasn't going to stop. She was going to escalate. Until Danielle either fought back or disappeared. What would you do? Stay silent or speak up? Drop your answer below because Danielle's about to make a choice that changes everything. Danielle could have walked out a dozen times. She didn't need the money, didn't need the reference, didn't need Mallory's approval or Gerald's paycheck or any of it. One phone call and she'd be back in Georgetown, back in silk blouses and catered meetings, back where people said, yes ma'am, and opened doors before she reached them. So why stay? Because for the first time in 3 years, she was real again. Not Mrs. Mercer, not the polished wife in tailored dresses who smiled for photographers and never said the wrong thing. Just Danny. A waitress, nobody special. Nobody watched her here. Not really. They saw the apron, the notepad, the woman who brought their food and refilled their sweet tea. They didn't see wealth, or status, or the last name that opened boardroom doors. And that anonymity, it was oxygen. She'd forgotten what it felt like to be treated like everyone else. To be judged on how she did her job, not who she married. Even Mallory's cruelty felt strangely honest. Mallory didn't hate her because of politics, or jealousy, or social climbing. She hated her because she wanted to. No pretense. No fake smiles over champagne. Just raw, ugly human behavior. And Danielle needed to see it. She'd spent too long in rooms where everyone performed, where every conversation had an agenda, where kindness was currency, and nothing was ever just honest. Here, people showed their true selves. The regular who tipped well because he'd worked service jobs once. The couple who snapped their fingers for attention. The teenager who said, "Please" and "Thank you" every single time. Danielle watched them all. She learned who people were when they thought no one important was watching. And she learned something about herself, too. She was stronger than she thought. Mallory's jabs didn't break her. The long shifts didn't crush her. The anonymity didn't scare her. It freed her. For 3 weeks, she'd carried her own weight, earned her own tips, survived on her own terms. No security, no safety net, no husband's name to shield her. Just her. And she wasn't ready to give that up. Not yet. Even if it meant enduring Mallory's games. Even if it meant biting her tongue when every instinct screamed to fight back. Because the moment she revealed who she really was, this fragile normal life would shatter. The cameras would come, the questions, the headlines. Billionaire's wife working minimum wage. Why? She could already see the think pieces, the speculation, the invasive interviews. So she stayed quiet, stayed small, stayed invisible. But Mallory was watching. And invisibility only works when predators let you hide. Tonight, Mallory wasn't letting anyone hide. Friday night, 7:15 p.m. Every table full, every booth packed. The kitchen was a war zone of sizzling pans and barked orders. Smoke curled from the grill. Timers screamed. Tickets printed faster than the line cooks could clear them. Front of house wasn't much better. Families waiting by the door. Couples checking their watches. A birthday party of 12 crammed into the back corner booth, loud and demanding. Phyllis was in the weeds. The college kids looked panicked. Even Gerald had come out from the office to help seat people. And Mallory? She stood near the kitchen pass, arms crossed, surveying the chaos like a general watching troops fail. She didn't help. She didn't jump in. She watched. Danielle moved fast. Table 3 needed water. Table 7 wanted extra napkins. Table 10's appetizer was late. She checked the window, grabbed the plates herself, delivered them with an apologetic smile. She was good at this. Quick, efficient, calm under pressure. That was the problem. Mallory noticed. While the other servers scrambled and fumbled and forgot orders, Danielle glided through the madness like she'd been doing this for years. Confident, composed, and customers loved her. An older woman at table 5 flagged her down. "Sweetheart, you're wonderful. What's your name again?" "Danny." "Well, Danny, you're the best server we've had here in months." The woman's husband nodded. "She's right. You should be managing this place." Danielle smiled politely. "Just doing my job." But Mallory heard it. Every word. Her fingers curled tight against her clipboard. Jaw clenched, eyes narrowed. She'd had enough. 3 weeks of watching this quiet, unassuming woman waltz in and make it look easy. 3 weeks of customers complimenting her. 3 weeks of Danielle not breaking. Not tonight. Mallory scanned the room, looking, calculating. She needed a moment, a mistake, something public. And then she saw it. Danielle was headed toward the bar, carrying a tray, 2 wine glasses, a bottle of Merlot. Table 8. Anniversary couple. High maintenance. Already sent back 1 appetizer. The floor was slick near the bar condensation from the ice bin. Someone had spilled something earlier. No one cleaned it. Mallory saw the wet spot. Saw Danielle approach. and didn't say a word. Danielle's foot hit the slick tile. Just for a second, her balance shifted. The tray tilted. The bottle slid. She caught it, barely, one-handed. Quick reflexes. No spill, no crash. The couple at table 8 didn't even notice. But Mallory did. And that near miss? It was all she needed. Mallory stepped forward, loud enough for half the dining room to hear. "Oh look, our charity case can't even hold a bottle." The room went quiet. Danielle froze. The bottle secure in her hand. The tray balanced. Nothing broken, nothing spilled. But Mallory's voice cut through the dining room like a blade. "Charity case." Heads turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. The anniversary couple at table 8 looked up. The birthday party went silent. Even the kitchen noise seemed to dim. Danielle's throat tightened. "I caught it. Everything's fine." "Fine?" Mallory stepped closer. Louder. "You almost dumped a $60 bottle of wine on paying customers." "But I didn't. Because you got lucky." The room was watching now, all of it. Phyllis stood frozen near the register. The college kids pretended to check their order pads. Gerald was somewhere in the back, oblivious. Danielle set the tray down carefully on the bar. Her hands steady, her voice low. "I'll be more careful." "You'll be more careful?" Mallory's laugh was sharp, cruel. "You've been here 3 weeks and you still move like you've never worked a real job in your life." Danielle's jaw clenched. She felt the eyes on her, the pity, the second-hand embarrassment radiating from nearby tables. She wanted to say something, defend herself, walk out. But she didn't. She just stood there. And that silence made Mallory bolder. "You know what? I'm tired of babysitting you." "I don't need—" "You don't need what? This job?" Mallory's eyes glittered. "Because it sure looks like you think you're too good for it." A woman at booth 4 whispered something to her husband. He shook his head, uncomfortable. Danielle's voice stayed calm, controlled. "I'm just trying to do my work." "Your work?" Mallory gestured at the tray. "You call almost destroying a customer's evening work?" "I didn't—" "Stop talking." The words landed like a slap. Danielle's breath caught, her pulse hammered in her ears. Mallory took another step. "Close now. Too close. You walk around here like you're doing us a favor, like we're lucky to have you." Her voice dropped. Vicious. "But you're nothing special, Danny. You're just another server who can't handle the pressure." Somewhere in the back, a dish clattered, a baby cried, life kept moving. But in this moment, the world had shrunk to just the two of them. Danielle felt something crack inside her chest. Not panic, not fear, rage. But she swallowed it, buried it, kept her face blank. Mallory saw that control, and it enraged her. She wanted tears, she wanted an outburst, she wanted Danielle to give her a reason. So she manufactured one. "You know what? I'm done." Danielle blinked. "What?" Mallory's smile was cold, final. "You're fired." The word hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Fired. Gasps rippled through the dining room. A fork clinked against a plate. Someone coughed. A child asked, "Mommy, what's happening?" Danielle stood perfectly still, her face unreadable, her hands loose at her sides. "You're firing me?" "That's what I said." Mallory's voice was theater now, performing for the audience. "Pack your things. You're done." The anniversary couple exchanged horrified looks. The woman leaned toward her husband. "This is insane." Booth 4. The family with 3 kids went silent. The father pulled out his phone, not to record, just uncertain what to do. Phyllis stepped forward. "Mallory, come on." She didn't even— "Stay out of this, Phyllis." Mallory didn't even look at her, eyes locked on Danielle. "This is my restaurant, my decision." "Gerald's restaurant," Phyllis muttered. "Gerald isn't here." Mallory's smile sharpened. "I am." Danielle took a slow breath, in through her nose, out through her mouth. She could end this right now. One sentence, one name. But she didn't. "Can we talk about this privately?" "No." "Mallory." "No." Louder now, crueler. "You don't get to negotiate. You don't get to explain. You're fired. Do you understand English, or do I need to say it slower? Someone at the bar muttered, Jesus Christ. A man in a flannel shirt stood up. Hey, that's completely uncalled for. Mallory whipped toward him. Excuse me? She didn't do anything wrong, he said. Steady. Firm. You're humiliating her for no reason. Sir, unless you want to be asked to leave, sit down. The man hesitated. His wife tugged his sleeve. He's Saturday. But the damage was done. The room had turned. Not against Danielle. Against Mallory. You could feel it. The shift. The collective discomfort hardening into something sharper. Disgust. Mallory felt it too, and it made her double down. Everyone here is a witness, she announced, spinning slowly, addressing the entire room. This is what happens when people don't take their jobs seriously, when they think the rules don't apply to them. Danielle's hands trembled. Just once. Just barely. She shoved them into her apron pockets. Mallory stepped closer, close enough to whisper, but she didn't whisper. You think you're special, don't you? Danielle said nothing. You're not. Mallory's voice was poison. You're nobody. The words landed. And for just a second, one fragile, aching second, Danielle believed them. Not because they were true, but because cruelty, when it's public, has weight. She pulled off her apron. Slowly. Carefully. And turned toward the staff hallway. Danielle walked. Past table 8. Past the bar. Past the host stand where Mallory stood like a victor on a battlefield. Her shoes barely made a sound on the tile. Her breathing stayed even. Her eyes focused straight ahead. She wouldn't give Mallory the satisfaction of seeing her cry. Behind her, the dining room remained frozen. No one ate. No one spoke. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the distant clatter of dishes in the back. Mallory watched her go, arms crossed, chin lifted. She'd won. Finally. 3 weeks of watching this woman glide through shifts with that irritating calm over. 3 weeks of customers praising her done. 3 weeks of feeling like someone was in her restaurant who didn't belong finished. Mallory turned to face the room. Show's over, everyone. Enjoy your meals. No one moved. The man in the flannel shirt shook his head slowly. His wife looked down at her plate, appetite gone. Booth 4's mother covered her youngest child's ears, even though the worst was already over. The anniversary couple signaled for their check, quietly, without dessert. Phyllis stood near the kitchen, hands gripping her order pad so tight her knuckles were white. One of the college kids, a girl named Iris, looked like she might be sick. Mallory didn't care. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them judge. They'd forget by tomorrow. Customers always did. She straightened her blouse, smoothed her hair, reclaimed her clipboard. Business as usual. Danielle reached the hallway that led to the back exit. The staff lockers, the employee bathroom, the door she'd walked through every shift for 3 weeks. She stopped, just for a second. Her hand hovered near the doorframe. She thought about her phone, locked in her car, about Elias, about the life waiting for her outside this building. She could call him, tell him what happened, laugh about it maybe, cry about it probably. But not yet. Right now, she just wanted to leave. Quietly, quickly, without another word. Mallory called after her, one last jab. And don't bother putting us down as a reference. A few customers flinched. Danielle didn't turn around. She pushed open the door to the back hallway. And at the exact same moment, the front door chimed. Someone stepped inside. Mallory turned, instinct kicking in, professional smile already forming. Good evening. Welcome to Hawthorne Ridge. The words died in her throat. Because standing in the doorway, scanning the room with sharp, intelligent eyes, was a man she'd seen on the news 100 times. Elias Mercer. The man at the bar saw him first. He'd been nursing a beer, half watching the disaster unfold with Danielle. Now his eyes widened. He elbowed his friend, whispered, pointed. His friend turned, stared. No way. That's him. You sure? Dead sure. The woman at booth 4 fumbled for her phone, not to record, just to confirm. She pulled up a news article from 2 weeks ago. Infrastructure deal, federal contract. Elias Mercer shaking hands with a governor. Same face. Same sharp jaw. Same dark eyes. Same tailored confidence that didn't need to announce itself. She nudged her husband, showed him the screen. His mouth opened slightly. Holy. Shh. But the whispers were already spreading. Table by table, booth by booth. Is that Elias Mercer? The billionaire? What's he doing here? Mallory stood frozen at the host stand, smile plastered on, brain scrambling to catch up. She recognized the name. Of course she did. Everyone in Virginia knew that name. But why was he here? Hawthorne Ridge Grill wasn't the kind of place people like Elias Mercer visited. Not unless... Her stomach dropped. The charity dinner. She'd been coordinating it for 6 weeks. A private event. 50 high-profile guests. Scheduled for next Friday. Elias Mercer was the keynote donor. The entire evening revolved around him. Mallory had spent hours on the phone with his assistant, planned the menu, secured the wines, ordered custom floral arrangements. This dinner was supposed to be her golden ticket, her proof she could handle elite clientele, her ladder out of this dead-end grill and into something bigger. And now he was here. Early. Unannounced. Her hands trembled. She clasped them together, forced her voice steady. Mr. Mercer, this is unexpected. We weren't expecting you until... He didn't look at her. His eyes swept the room, methodical, searching. The anniversary couple stared. The flannel shirt man sat up straighter. Phyllis stood near the kitchen, mouth slightly open. Even the birthday party had gone quiet. Elias's gaze moved past the tables, past the bar, toward the back hallway, where Danielle had just disappeared. Mallory's throat tightened. No, that didn't make sense. He couldn't be here for... But his expression said otherwise. Tension, concern, something almost protective. The room felt it too. Customers exchanged glances, confused, curious, starting to piece together something they didn't fully understand yet. The man at the bar leaned toward his friend. Why's he looking for someone? Maybe he knows someone here? Who? No one answered. But the question hung in the air, heavy and electric. Mallory's pulse hammered. Elias stepped forward, calm, certain. And when he spoke, his voice carried across the entire dining room. Where's Danielle? Danielle heard his voice through the door. 3 words. Her name. Her real name. She stopped, hand on her locker, breath caught somewhere between her lungs and her throat. No. Not now. Not like this. She'd told him she needed space. Time. A few weeks to remember what normal felt like. He'd respected that. Gave her room. Didn't push. So why was he here? Her mind raced. Had he been checking on her? Following her? Did he know she'd been working here all along? Or was this coincidence? Wrong place, wrong time, wrong night. She pressed her palm against the cool metal locker, steadied herself. Out in the dining room, she could hear the confused murmurs, the whispers. Who's Danielle? Wait, does he mean the server? The one who just got fired? Her heart pounded. She could walk back out there. End this. Let Elias see what happened. Let him handle Mallory the way he handled every problem. Swift, decisive, final. 1 word from him and Mallory's career would be over. Hell, 1 word from him and this entire restaurant would be under investigation by morning. But that wasn't why Danielle had come here. She didn't want to be saved. She didn't want Elias to fix this. She'd spent 3 weeks trying to prove to herself that she could stand on her own, that she wasn't just Mrs. Mercer, that she could take hits and keep moving. And if she let him fight this battle for her, she'd lose that. All of it. She pulled her jacket from the locker, grabbed her keys. Her hands didn't shake. Out front, Mallory's voice rose, nervous and stumbling. I'm sorry, Mr. Mercer. I don't know who you're referring to. Danielle. Firmer now, edged with something dangerous. My wife. Silence. Absolute, suffocating. Danielle closed her eyes. There it was. The truth, out loud, in front of everyone. No going back now. She heard the gasps, the sharp intake of breath from a dozen people at once. Someone dropped silverware. It clattered against a plate. His wife? The server was his wife? Mallory's voice cracked. I didn't. Where is she? Danielle zipped her jacket, slung her bag over her shoulder. She could still leave, slip out the back exit, avoid the confrontation, let Elias think she'd already gone. But something stopped her. Not pride, not anger. Curiosity. She wanted to see Mallory's face when the floor fell out from under her. She wanted to see what happened when someone who loved cruelty finally faced consequences. So Danielle turned, pushed open the door, and stepped back into the dining room. Every eye in the building turned toward her. The door from the back hallway swung open. Danielle stepped through. The room inhaled. Elias saw her first. His shoulders dropped just slightly. Relief, worry, something raw and unguarded. He crossed the dining room in 4 strides. Didn't stop at the host stand. Didn't acknowledge Mallory. Didn't care about the 50 people watching. He went straight to his wife. Danny. His voice was low, meant only for her. Are you okay? She nodded. Didn't trust herself to speak yet. His eyes scanned her face, looking for damage, for tears, for something he could fix. What happened? Danielle's throat tightened. She glanced past him toward Mallory, who stood pale and trembling near the register. Toward Phyllis, who looked ready to cry. Toward the customers, phones out now, recording, watching, waiting. This was the moment everything could unravel. She could tell him, let him unleash the kind of controlled fury that toppled careers and crushed reputations. Or she could protect the fragile, quiet things she'd built here. The part of her life that had nothing to do with his name. Elias's hand found hers, warm, steady, grounding. Talk to me. Behind him, Mallory finally found her voice. Shaky, desperate. Mr. Mercer, there's been a misunderstanding. I had no idea she was… Quiet. One word. Flat. Final. Mallory's mouth snapped shut. The room collectively held its breath. The man in the flannel shirt leaned toward his wife. This is insane. Shh, I'm recording. Table 8, the anniversary couple sat frozen, dessert menus forgotten. Booth 4's father whispered, We're watching someone's career end in real time. Elias didn't turn around. His focus stayed locked on Danielle. Did she hurt you? No. Did she fire you? Danielle hesitated, then nodded. Something dark flickered across Elias's face. Not rage, colder than that. Calculation. He turned, slowly. Looked at Mallory for the first time. She shrank back, hands twisting together, eyes wide. You fired my wife. It wasn't a question. Mallory stammered. She didn't tell me, I thought. You thought what? His voice was quiet, lethal. That she didn't matter? The silence was unbearable. Mallory's lips trembled. No words came. Elias stepped forward. Not threatening, just present, filling the space with authority that didn't need to be loud. Do you know what you've done? Mallory shook her head, tears pooling now. And that's when Danielle spoke. Her voice calm, steady, cutting through the tension like a blade. Elias, stop. He turned, surprised. She stepped forward, looked him in the eye. This restaurant is where you booked the charity dinner. Elias froze. If you think you know how this ends, you don't. Subscribe before the truth hits. The charity dinner. 3 words. They landed like stones in still water, ripples spreading outward. Mallory's face went white. Not pale, not flushed. White. Because she understood instantly what Danielle had just done. The anniversary couple leaned in closer, listening, hungry for every word. The man at the bar pulled out his phone, Googled something. His eyebrows shot up. Oh my God, he whispered. Next Friday, 50-person private event, Mercer Foundation fundraiser. His friend scrolled frantically. It's all over the local news. 20,000 a plate. Here? At this place? Mallory's been bragging about it for weeks. Phyllis stood near the kitchen window, hand over her mouth. She'd heard Mallory. Everyone had. The way Mallory walked through the kitchen talking about her event, how she'd landed the client of a lifetime, how this dinner was going to change everything, how Elias Mercer personally requested Hawthorne Ridge Grill. Mallory had framed it like a conquest, like she'd won him over with charm and competence. But now everyone in the room was doing the math. Danielle worked here for 3 weeks. Mallory fired her tonight. Elias Mercer walked in minutes later, calling her his wife. The birthday party in the back booth had gone completely silent. 12 people watching like this was theater. Because it was. Mallory tried to speak. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Mr. Mercer, I swear I didn't know. She told you her name was Danny. Danielle's voice was calm. Too calm. You never asked for a last name. You never cared. You fired me in front of everyone because you wanted to humiliate me. Mallory's hands shook. That's not... Is it true? Elias's voice cut through. Sharp, controlled. Mallory flinched. Did you fire her publicly? Silence. Then, barely a whisper, yes. The room shifted again. Customers exchanged glances. Some looked horrified. Others looked fascinated. The woman at booth 4 muttered to her husband, I can't believe we're witnessing this. He didn't look away. I know. Mallory's voice cracked, desperate now. But the dinner, Mr. Mercer. The event is already planned. Everything's ready. The menu, the flowers, I don't care. 3 words. Cold. Absolute. Mallory swayed slightly, gripped the edge of the host stand for balance. Please. This is my career. This is everything I've worked for. Elias looked at her. Really looked. Not with anger, not with pity. With nothing. You should have thought about that before you decided my wife didn't matter. Mallory's knees buckled. She didn't fall, but it was close. And Danielle. Danielle just stood there, watching karma right itself in real time. Elias turned back to Danielle. The room faded. The customers, Mallory, the whispers, and the phones. None of it mattered. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was softer now, hurt beneath the control. Danielle met his eyes. Because I needed this. Needed what? To be humiliated? To be normal. The word hung between them. Elias exhaled, ran a hand through his hair, a crack in the armor. He'd been in boardrooms with senators, negotiated billion-dollar contracts, stared down hostile shareholders without blinking. But this? His wife, standing in a small-town restaurant, fired and humiliated because she wanted to escape the life he'd built? That broke something in him. Donnie, you could have told me you were struggling. I wasn't struggling. Her voice stayed steady. I was suffocating. The room listened, captivated. This wasn't just drama anymore. It was intimacy, raw, real, the kind of truth people didn't usually witness. Elias stepped closer, lowered his voice. But the room was so quiet, everyone still heard. I would have understood. Would you? She wasn't accusing, just asking. Because every time I tried to step back, there was another gala, another interview, another event where I had to smile and be on. You never said, I did, gentle, firm. You just didn't hear me. The words landed. Elias closed his eyes briefly, nodded. He'd been so focused on building, on achieving, on using his resources to do good, he'd missed what was right in front of him. His wife, drowning in his spotlight. Danielle's expression softened. I'm not blaming you, Elias. I just needed to remember who I was before all of this. By working here? By being anonymous. By earning my own tips. By being judged on my work, not your name. Elias looked around the dining room, at the cracked booths, the faded photos, the worn-out carpet. He understood. Not fully, but enough. How long were you planning to stay? I don't know. A few more weeks, maybe a month. And then? I'd come home. She reached for his hand. "I was always going to come home." His grip tightened. Relief. Gratitude. Then his jaw hardened. He glanced back toward Mallory. "But she... I know. She had no right. I know. Danny, I can't just let this go." Danielle looked at Mallory. Still frozen, still pale, still terrified. And for the first time tonight, Danielle smiled. Small, knowing. "I'm not asking you to." Elias studied her face, searching. "What are you asking?" Danielle's smile widened, just slightly. "I'm asking you to let me handle this my way." Confusion flickered across his face. But before he could respond, Danielle turned to Mallory. And the room leaned in. Danielle stepped toward Mallory. Not aggressive, not rushed. Calm, deliberate. Mallory backed up, hit the edge of the host's stand, nowhere left to go. "You asked me earlier if I thought I was special," Danielle said quietly. Mallory's lips trembled. No response. "You said I was nobody." The room was silent, breathless. Danielle stopped 3 feet away, close enough to be heard clearly, far enough to maintain control. "You were half right." Mallory blinked, confused. "I didn't want to be special here. I wanted to be nobody." Danielle's voice was steady, almost kind. "I wanted to serve tables and go home without anyone knowing my last name, without cameras, without expectations." She paused. "You gave me that. For 3 weeks, you treated me exactly like everyone else you thought was beneath you." Mallory flinched. The man in the flannel shirt whistled low. "Damn," Danielle continued. "You didn't fire me because I was bad at my job. You fired me because I didn't break when you wanted me to." "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did. Not cruel, just factual. You humiliated me because you could, because you thought I had no power, no voice, no one who'd care." Mallory's tears spilled over now, silent, desperate. "That's what you do, isn't it?" Danielle tilted her head slightly. "You find people you think are powerless, and you crush them." Phyllis made a small noise from across the room. Agreement. Vindication. Danielle glanced at her, then back at Mallory. "How many others?" "What? How many other people have you fired like this? Publicly, cruelly?" Mallory didn't answer. Couldn't. But her silence said everything. The anniversary couple shared a look. The woman mouthed, "I knew it." Booth 4's mother shook her head slowly. Disgusted. The entire room had turned. Not just against Mallory's actions tonight. Against who she was. Elias stood behind Danielle, watching, letting her lead. This wasn't his fight anymore. It was hers. Danielle's voice softened, almost gentle. "You wanted to see me broken, Mallory. You wanted me on my knees, begging for this job." Mallory sobbed quietly. "But here's the twist." Danielle leaned in, just slightly. "I never needed this job. I chose it." Mallory's eyes widened. "You fired someone who could walk away without a second thought. Someone who has more resources in her checking account than this restaurant makes in a year." The words sank in. Mallory's face crumpled. Because she finally understood. She hadn't won anything. She just destroyed herself. And Danielle? Danielle had all the power. She always had. Elias stepped forward, ready to finish it. "The charity dinner is cancelled, effective immediately." Mallory gasped. "No, please. And I'll make sure every event planner in Virginia knows exactly why." "Mr. Mercer, please, I'll do anything." "There's nothing you can do." But Danielle raised her hand, gently, stopping him. Elias turned, surprised. "Don't cancel it." The room went still. Mallory's head snapped up, hope flickering in her tear-streaked face. Elias frowned. "Danny!" "I mean it." Danielle looked at him, really looked. "Don't cancel the dinner because of me. She fired you, publicly humiliated you." "I know. So why would you—" "Because 50 families are counting on that money." Her voice was firm now. Clear. "The dinner isn't about Mallory. It's about the foundation, the scholarships, the kids who need it." The anniversary couple exchanged surprised looks. Booth 4's father whispered, "She's protecting the charity." His wife nodded slowly, respect settling into her expression. Elias's jaw tightened, torn between fury and admiration. "Danny, you don't have to. I'm not doing this for her." Danielle glanced at Mallory, then back at Elias. "I'm doing this because it's the right thing." Mallory stood frozen, disbelief and shame warring on her face. She didn't deserve this mercy. She knew it. Everyone knew it. But Danielle gave it anyway. Elias exhaled slowly, nodded. "Fine, the dinner stays." Mallory's knees almost buckled with relief. "But," Elias's voice turned to steel, "it's not happening here." Mallory's hope shattered. "What?" "We're moving it. Different venue. Different staff. But everything's already planned." "Then unplan it. The contracts will be void by morning. My lawyers are very efficient." Mallory's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came. Danielle watched her. Not with satisfaction, not with cruelty. With something closer to pity. "You could have just been kind, Mallory." The words were quiet, but they hit harder than any threat. Mallory crumbled, hands covering her face, shoulders shaking. The man at the bar shook his head. She had everything, just threw it away. His friend muttered, "Over what? Pride?" Phyllis stepped forward, carefully. "Danielle, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner." Danielle turned to her, offered a small smile. "You were protecting yourself. I understand." Phyllis's eyes welled up. Elias placed a hand on Danielle's shoulder, protective, grounding. "Can we go now?" She nodded. But before she turned to leave, she looked around the dining room one last time. At the cracked booths, the faded pictures, the ordinary people who'd witnessed something extraordinary. This place had given her exactly what she needed. And now it was time to let it go. They were halfway to the door when Danielle stopped. Elias looked back. "What's wrong?" She turned, faced him fully. The dining room still watched, but she didn't care anymore. "I need to tell you something." Elias's expression shifted. Concern. "Okay." Danielle took a breath, steadied herself. "I didn't come here just to get away." "What do you mean?" "I came here to see if I still existed." The words hung in the air. Elias didn't understand. "Not yet," Danielle continued, voice quieter now, more vulnerable. "When I married you, I became Mrs. Mercer, and somewhere along the way, Danielle disappeared." "Danny, every room I walk into, people see your wife, the foundation board member, the woman in the photographs, the polished, perfect, silent partner." Her voice cracked, just slightly. "I forgot what it felt like to just be me." Elias's face fell, guilt settling into the lines around his eyes. "I never wanted you to feel like that." "I know." She reached for his hand. "You didn't do it on purpose. Neither of us did. It just happened." The anniversary couple listened. The woman's eyes glistened. This wasn't scandal anymore. It was heartbreak. Danielle looked down at their joined hands. "I needed to know if people would respect me when they didn't know your name, if I could handle hard work, if I could survive criticism. You don't have to prove anything to anyone." "I wasn't proving it to them." She met his eyes. "I was proving it to myself." Silence. Elias pulled her closer, not possessive, just present. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." "You're seeing it now. What do you need? Tell me. Anything." Danielle smiled. Sad. Honest. "I need you to understand that loving you doesn't mean losing myself." "I know." "Do you?" He paused, really considered it, then nodded, slowly. "I'm starting to." The room felt the shift. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about Mallory's downfall or a cancelled dinner. It was about a woman fighting to stay whole in a world that wanted to flatten her into a title. Phyllis wiped her eyes with her apron. The man in flannel looked at his wife, squeezed her hand. Booth Four's mother whispered, "I felt that." Even Mallory, still standing at the host stand, broken and forgotten, understood something she hadn't before. She hadn't just fired an employee. She'd humiliated someone fighting to remember who they were. And that truth? That was heavier than any consequence Elias could impose. Danielle turned back toward the door. This time, Elias walked beside her. Not ahead, not behind. Beside. The door closed behind them. Danielle and Elias, gone. The dining room remained frozen. Mallory stood alone at the host stand. And slowly, devastatingly, the full weight of what she'd done settled onto her shoulders. The charity dinner moved. 50 high-profile guests, going elsewhere. 6 weeks of planning, wasted. The contacts she'd made, the vendors she'd coordinated with, the carefully curated menu she'd spent hours perfecting. All of it, gone. But it was worse than that. Much worse. Because Elias Mercer didn't just cancel an event. He had influence. The kind that traveled through networks faster than news. The kind that closed doors before you even knew they existed. Event planners talked, caterers talked, venue coordinators talked. By tomorrow morning, everyone in the industry would know. Mallory Green, the manager who publicly fired Elias Mercer's wife. Her name would be poison. No high-end client would touch her. No upscale restaurant would hire her. She'd torched her entire future in front of 30 witnesses. With phones, Mallory's legs gave out. She sank into the host stand chair, head in her hands. The anniversary couple stood, left cash on the table, walked out without a word. Booth 4 followed. The father glanced at Mallory once, shook his head, kept walking. The birthday party filtered out quietly, awkwardly. One by one, the dining room emptied. No one wanted to stay. The meal was ruined, the atmosphere poisoned. Within 10 minutes, only a handful of tables remained. The man at the bar finished his beer, tossed a few bills down. "That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen anyone do," he said to no one in particular. His friend nodded. "Career, suicide." They left. Phyllis approached slowly, cautiously. "Mallory, don't." Mallory's voice was hollow, broken. "Gerald's going to hear about this." "I know." "You'll be fired." "I know." Phyllis hesitated, then turned away. There was nothing left to say. Iris, the college server, stood near the kitchen, young, wide-eyed. "I can't believe you didn't know who she was." Mallory laughed, sharp, bitter. "I didn't want to know. I just wanted her gone." "Why?" "Because she was better than me." The admission hung in the empty dining room. Raw, true, pathetic. Iris said nothing, just walked away. Mallory sat alone. The restaurant quiet now, lifeless. She'd wanted control, wanted power, wanted to prove she mattered. Instead, she'd proven exactly what she was. Small, cruel, forgettable. And now? Now she had nothing. The evening shift manager who'd burned her own career to the ground, over a wine bottle that never even fell. Morning came cold and gray. Mallory arrived at Hawthorne Ridge Grill at 6 a.m., early, like always. Except today, Gerald's truck was already in the parking lot. Her stomach dropped. He never came in this early. She walked through the front door, keys trembling in her hand. Gerald sat at booth 4, coffee in front of him, untouched. His face was unreadable. "Sit down, Mallory." She Saturday. Silence stretched between them, heavy, final. "I got 17 calls last night," Gerald said quietly. "Customers, staff, people I haven't heard from in years." Mallory stared at the table. "They all told me the same story." She said nothing. "You fired someone in front of a full dining room, humiliated her, called her a charity case." Her throat closed. "And that someone was Elias Mercer's wife." Gerald's voice didn't rise, didn't need to. "I built this place over 30 years, Mallory. 30 years of reputation, of trust." He leaned forward. "You destroyed it in 30 seconds." "Gerald, I didn't know." "It doesn't matter." He slid an envelope across the table. "You're done." Mallory stared at the envelope. "Severance. Final paycheck. Please. I can fix this." "You can't." "I'll apologize. Elias Mercer moved the charity dinner to the Ridgeway downtown. Mallory's breath hitched. The Ridgeway, her biggest competitor. The restaurant she'd trash-talked for months. He also personally called me last night, Gerald continued. Told me what happened. Asked if I knew the kind of person I had managing my restaurant. Tears blurred Mallory's vision. I told him I didn't, and I meant it. Gerald stood. Slowly. Tired. Clear out your locker. Don't come back. He walked toward the office. Stopped at the door. For what it's worth, Mallory, you were good at this job. You just forgot that power isn't the same as respect. He disappeared into the back. Mallory sat alone. The envelope in front of her. The empty restaurant around her. No dramatic showdown. No viral video. No public execution. Just quiet, earned consequences. She'd lost everything. Not because of revenge. Because of who she'd always been. Outside, a black sedan pulled into the parking lot across the street. The Ridgeway's manager stepped out, smiled, shook hands with a delivery driver. Preparing for Friday's event. The event that should have been Mallory's. Her phone buzzed. A text from a former colleague. Heard what happened. You okay? She didn't respond. What was there to say? Moments like this don't go viral, they just end careers. Subscribe so you see how Danielle's story finishes. Mallory stood, grabbed the envelope, and walked out of Hawthorne Ridge Grill for the last time. 2 weeks later, Danielle stood in her kitchen. Not the staff kitchen at Hawthorne Ridge. Her kitchen. Marble counters. Potomac view. Morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. But something had changed. She wasn't suffocating anymore. Elias walked in, coffee in hand, looked at her carefully. How are you feeling? She smiled, real, unpracticed. Better. He'd kept his promise. Fewer events, more boundaries, actual conversations about what she needed instead of assumptions about what she wanted. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The foundation dinner went well, he said carefully. Raised $40,000 more than projected. At the Ridgeway? Yeah. He paused. Mallory called my office yesterday. Danielle's hands stilled on her coffee mug. What did she want? To apologize. To explain. To ask if there was any way. There isn't. I know. He set his mug down. I didn't take the call. Danielle nodded. She felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just nothing. Mallory had made her choices. Now she lived with them. Elias leaned against the counter. Gerald selling Hawthorne Ridge. Retiring early. I heard. Apparently business dropped 30% after that night. Reviews tanked. Staff quit. Danielle looked out the window. Watched the river move. She hadn't wanted that. Hadn't intended it. But she hadn't caused it either. Mallory had. Phyllis got a job at the Ridgeway, Elias added. Better pay, better hours. That made Danielle smile. Good for her. Silence settled between them. Comfortable now. Do you regret it? Elias asked quietly. Working there? Danielle considered. Really considered. No. Even after everything? Especially after everything. She turned to face him. I needed to know I could stand on my own, that I wasn't just your wife, that I mattered without your name protecting me. And now? Now I know. Elias crossed the kitchen, pulled her close. I'm proud of you. She leaned into him, let herself be held. Not rescued, not saved, just loved. Across town, Mallory sat in her apartment. Rent overdue, job applications unanswered. She'd applied to 6 restaurants, 3 diners, 2 catering companies. All rejected. Word traveled fast, and some reputations couldn't be rebuilt. She stared at her phone, at Danielle's name in a half-written apology text she'd never send. What would she even say? I'm sorry I didn't know who you were? That was the problem. She should have cared who Danielle was as a person. Not as a name, not as a connection. As a human being. But Mallory had forgotten that power without kindness was just cruelty in a uniform. And cruelty always came back around. Danielle never posted about it, never went public, never sought revenge. She didn't need to. Justice had been quiet, but it had been thorough.